Hi everyone, Tom Wolf here. In this video I'm going to be showing you how I created the patch Eden Passing from my soundbank Halcyon Part 2. Now, Halcyon Part 2 is centered around ambient patches, and this is one of the pads from that. Let's have a listen. And the mod wheel. So you can hear we've got this delicate grainy pad with quite a natural sound to it, slightly metallic as well, and we've got these big long ambiances created from the reverb. We've also then got tremolo on the mod wheel, which adds a rhythmical element to it if we want to bring that in. So let's show you how that was created. So on layer A, we've got a sound called Love Triangles A, which is one of Omnisphere's built-in sound sources. And I've already removed all of the modulations and all of the effects. So on its own, it sounds like this. Okay, so it's already slightly kind of grainy sound, very synthetic, quite ambient already. But to turn it into this patch, we're going to start with the Granular engine. So let's just switch that on. So you can see we've got the grain depth set to about 3/4, the intensity very low, smoothing about half, full spread, and we haven't got any detuning or pitching going on. This is one of my kind of go-to presets for this kind of sound. And we've got the position selected, and we've got the position set to close to the center. Let's hear how that sounds now. So it's added this kind of extra bit of ambience to it. We also have a little bit of modulation on the position. So let's switch that on. That's being controlled by LFO1. And you can see that LFO1 is set to random. We've got it set to unipolar. It's tempo synced, and that's set to 32. So that's creating this kind of random change in the position of the sample, which gives it a little bit of extra movement. So let's just mute that. So it's a very subtle change, but it just makes it sound that little bit more natural and creates this kind of randomized change in it. Okay, so then we need to change our envelope, because for a pad, we want quite a long release and we want quite a long attack as well. So I'm going to set the attack to just over 2 seconds, and we'll set the release to about the same. And then we want to apply some filter to this as well. So let's turn on the filter. Now that's obviously taking out quite a lot of the top end. So this filter you've got here is a modified filter. So in filter 1, we've got the low pass filter UVI2, and in filter 2, we've got the UVI3. We've then got the mix, we've got it set to series, and we've got the mix about halfway. We've also got a slight offset on the resonance there, and we've got slight variant offsets on both ones as well. The cutoff is set very low, the resonance is off completely, and we've got the envelope mod set all the way to the top. And let's just have a quick look at the filter envelope. So that's pretty much identical to the amp envelope, and we've got velocity all the way up to the top as well. So that's just giving us, extra dynamic range with the velocity there. So let's have a listen to it. So it's already started to sound a little bit more ambient, a little bit more subtle. So that's our layer A, so we don't add any effects to that one. So let's have a look at layer B. So our sound from layer B, raw sound, sounds like this. Okay, so it's quite a kind of metallic, top-endy, natural sounding sound source. Again, one of the built-in Omnisphere ones. So again, first thing we're going to do is we're going to add the Granular engine. So we've got slightly different settings here. The grain depth is slightly lower, but everything else is pretty much the same. So we've got quite a low intensity, mid-smoothing, spreads all the way up, no detuning, no pitch. We've still got it set to position, and this time it's going to start a little bit closer to the start of the sample. So that's giving it a bit more grain to it and making it a little bit more ambient already. And then let's just tweak our envelopes. So again, attack to about 2.5 seconds, release to about the same. And that smooths out the attack and gives it a nice little release. So then let's turn on the filter. So the filter is the same setting as on layer A. We've got our UVI2 and our UVI3 being blended in series. The cutoff and the resonance are slightly different. We've got a little bit of resonance on here, not very much, but just a tiny little edge. On this one, our variants are set to the center. And if you look here, we've actually got some modulation on our variant. So let's show that. That's being controlled by LFO2. If we unmute LFO2, we can just see that we've got quite a slow sweep. So what the variant does is it changes the stereo sound of the filters. So we're kind of very gently modifying this as the sound plays, and we've got it set to a sine wave. It is synced, and that's synced to 3 bars. Let's have a little listen to that. So just to give you a better idea of what the variant does, let's open that up. And if you're listening on headphones, you can hear that that is panning left to right and changing how it sounds in each speaker, which just gives it a nice little kind of stereo image boost there. So let's turn that right back down. Okay, so the next thing we've got is our effects. So let's go and switch the effects on for this one. So firstly, we've got the valve radio, which the mix is set to 100. This is a great sounding plugin, which just makes everything sound a little bit kind of lo-fi. We've got our low pass set to in the 2K region, high pass set to 460, little bit of Q, not too much, no drive. And that's just going to kind of thin the sound out and give it a little bit of character. And then we've also got our retroplex, which at the moment the mix is set to 0, but that is being modulated by our mod envelope 1. So let's just turn that on and have a look at mod envelope 1. So you can see when we press the key down, it's got a very slow attack. And what that's going to do is as the sound builds, it's going to bring in our retroplex. And what the retroplex is doing is it's just going to be making that a little bit more kind of ambient, bringing out that ambient edge to it. So let's hear it without the retroplex. Okay, so it's making it a lot more ambient, giving it more of that character there. You can see on our retroplex, we've got it set to Echo 1, got the year set to 1974, which just kind of changes the character of it subtly. Very small amount of flutter there with quite a slow speed. And that's just kind of adding to the character of it, really. So let's just have a listen to it with both of our layers together now that we've sorted them both out. So it's already starting to sound a lot more like a pad, but we're still missing some of that ambience. So that's going to be coming from the effects. So let's go over here. So on our common effects, we've got the precision comp, which just kind of glues those two sounds together and makes it a little bit thicker, a little bit warmer. Let's ignore the toxic for a moment because we'll come to that shortly. Then we've also got the proverb, which we've got it set to 30 mix, medium size, sort of medium to small, time almost all the way up, density all the way up. We've got the diffusion set to about 3/4, just over that, which is going to give us a nice big ambient sound. We've got that huge reverb tail, and we've got that, it's, you know, it's sounding a lot warmer because of the precision comp, which is just kind of squeezing everything together a little bit. So let's have a look at the mod wheel as well. So on the mod wheel, we had a little bit of tremolo. So let's just open that up. So you can see here, we've got LFO3, which is controlling the amplitude of both layers. And then we've got the wheel controlling LFO3 depth. So let's have a quick look at LFO3. So LFO3 is set to sine wave. We've got it set to unipolar, and it is tempo synced to 16ths. So let's play you how that sounds. So that allows for a little bit more variation and to make the patch rhythmical. If you wanted, you could keep the patch rhythmical throughout whatever you're playing, or you can bring it in subtly, use it very subtly in your compositions to create a bit of movement. On this patch, we've also got another source of modulation, which is the orb. Now, the orb is something that kind of gets overlooked in Omnisphere, but I think it's an absolutely great tool because a lot of people treat it like a randomizer, but actually you can use it like a kind of mod wheel on steroids, really. And it's great for creating movement in your pieces in a really kind of creative way. So I've already mapped what I want to the orb. So what the orb is going to be controlling is this instance of Toxic, which is on the common effects. Again, Toxic is a really great sounding bit crusher. I use it quite a lot, especially in this set as well. And it's really great when you can control it by the orb, because you can just have it morphing in and out and you can change the characteristics of it while you're playing, which is fantastic. So let's have a look at the modulation. So we've got the orb controlling the Toxic Smasher mix, we've got it controlling the cutoff, and we've got it controlling the resonance. So let's unmute all of those and let's show you how that sounds. So we're adding that kind of bit crushy sort of grit to it. Okay, so all that is, without the orb being used, Toxic is completely off because the mix is set to 0. But when we're switching on the orb, as we're sweeping it round the orb, it's bringing the mix in, but it's also controlling our cutoff and our resonance. Now, the filter is a bandpass filter, and at the moment it's set to pre. So it's filtering the sound before it goes into the bit crusher. So as we're moving the orb around, we're changing not just the amount of the bit crusher, but we're also changing the sound of the bit crusher, the tone of the bit crusher, because we're adding extra resonance and we're changing the frequency of the bandpass filter. Then, of course, you can play about with different ways of controlling it. Like, for instance, you could control the orb and the mod wheel at the same time. I'm going to do a tutorial at some point about the orb because I just think it's such an overlooked part of Omnisphere and it's such a great tool to be able to create movement. So let's have a listen to our final sound. So that was how I created the patch Eden Passing. Thank you for watching the video. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments. If you do want to check out some of the patches from Halcyon Part 2, it's a 200 patch set. You can find the link to the product page in the description. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you can keep up to date with these videos as well as my latest releases. Until next time, take care.